Hey guys, it's a steaming pile of ship here, and in today's video we're going to be looking at one of my first tier 10s that I ever unlocked, the tier 10 German cruiser, the Hindenburg. It's probably, I would say it's probably my second favorite ship in the game, right behind the Grosse Kurfürst. If I really had to pick, that's what I would probably say. And it was dethroned when I, of course, got the Grosse Kurfürst. Anyways, we have the tiers of the desert map. We've got domination. And one of the things that makes this map not suck so much is when it is domination. I mean, you have... It's still a very passive game, but at least it is an epicenter on this map, and that definitely counts for something. Trying to take a little bit just to see where our destroyers might be headed. It is likely that the one to our port side is probably going to go straight for B since they spawned right there. And it looks like the Tashkent could go for either B or C. Looking at the team, it's probably not a bad idea if he goes to support the destroyer in B, because it looks like our destroyer in B is a Shimakaze. So if the Tashkent goes with, the Shimakaze could potentially spot for him, and then he'll be able to help shoot at anything the Shimakaze manages to spot. And if we pop up the team real quick again, they're going to need, the Shimakaze is going to need all the help it can get, because there's a Gearing and an Akazuki on the other team, and both of those are fairly... the Shimakaze might be able to take out an Akizuki if he angles against it, but realistically, it's still a very, it's weighed a lot in the Akazuki's favor in this fight. So if the Tashkent goes with, that'll be really nice, and it does look like he is deciding to go towards the middle to help out the Shimakaze, which is great because we already are down one destroyer thanks to the matchmaker, so if we manage to keep them both protected, that'll be nice. Enemy Bismarck moving in towards C. Looks like C is being capped by one of the enemy destroyers, so something we need to keep in mind. There could be torpedoes coming from that direction. One of the great things about the Hindenburg is it's got very powerful AP damage, even if the penetration sucks. But when you get a perfect broadside like this guy's been giving us, although now he's starting to angle, you do tend to, and that was a bad example, but you can have some pretty decent damage rolls right there. But Turpit's moving in, he's giving us a great angle though, so we're keeping the AP loaded for him. And another great thing about the Hindenburg, in this passive meta, the fact that you can upgrade the range so much on the ship really means that you have an advantage that other ships like the Zhao, like the Des Moines, and the Minotaur, you know, they have shorter range than you, and so generally speaking, you've got a little bit of an edge in terms of you can keep the enemy a little bit further away than you, or than you'd be able to in the other cruisers that aren't Moskva, essentially. Speaking of Moskva, there's one right in front of us, or right in our aim area. I apologize for, you can see a little bit of stuttering, and also there's clipping. I think it's done this in pretty much half of my videos, if not all of them, and it's ridiculously annoying, but there's nothing I can do about it. I really hope that it eventually gets fixed so that it doesn't do that in replay files, but I like playing close to my ship. I don't know why exactly, but I just like being right by it, you know. Almost kind of like a pseudo first-person sort of look. And the downside of that is whenever we go watch the replay files, you have that clipping, so... Of course, right now you see me zoomed out quite a bit, but that's because I'm using the right mouse button. I'm keeping angled towards this Montana because I know exactly how powerful he is, and there are a lot of ships over at sea, so I'm not exactly in the mood to go charging at sea, especially with all of our ships seemingly running away. Although, I should get a little closer, because I'm almost out of range of everybody, except for this Montana here. We do have a enemy destroyer that's been spotted, and we're just going to notice him right there before he goes undetected. It looked like the planes were what was spotting him on their way back, but now that the planes have gotten far enough away from him, he is unspotted. The Montana put out our first fire that we set on him earlier, and so now we've got one that's permanently burning on him, or, well, not permanently, but it'll go out whenever it actually burns out on its own. He can't actually put it out. So we're going to try and get a second one started on him as we turn back. And we are taking a huge gamble here with all those battleships over there, going fairly broadside to them like this. However, since they are mostly prow on, it's a much safer risk than it would be if they were all broadside like that Tirpitz now is. So Montana has managed to stealth himself up. He's probably running the concealment build. Looks like he just fired, maybe? Well, that was a Tirpitz shells right there, but something managed to spot him again. Couple torpedoes coming in. Yugamo right there. I'm not sure why I haven't opened fired on him yet. And are we going to notice him yet? Not sure why I haven't been firing for the past 30 seconds or so almost. Feels like that anyways. And we finally come to our senses, and we're trying to help out the Shimakaze, which is going near him. And he's pretty low. We set him on fire. Unfortunately, the Yugamo does take the Shimakaze out with some torpedoes he'd fired earlier. But he's very weak himself. Hopefully he'll be dying fairly soon too. And the Grosse Kurfürst finishes him off with the secondaries. Montana's managed to put the fires out, so we're going to go ahead and start burning him again, hopefully, as we run away from sea. And now that we have lost both destroyers on our team, and they still have two of theirs, we really need to start making up for that loss by hunting theirs down. Hopefully our carrier is going to be able to spot whoever is capturing B right there, because it looks like it is a destroyer. I don't think there'd be a cruiser in there, unless it'd be like a Minotaur or something, but I feel like, well, there's a destroyer, but the only reason it shouldn't have been a destroyer there is because the Grosse Kurfürst is fairly close and could probably spot him. We got a Montana on the other team still that we haven't managed to set on fire apart from those first few, so we're going to try and get him burning again. And you'll see I'm making a big gamble again, turning in like this, but he only has the front two turrets, and it doesn't seem like he's really all that interested in me. So we need to start getting closer to the capture points, and we're going to try and hopefully get a little bit closer to B so that we can help out there. Our friendly Grosse Kurfürst looks like he just ate a couple torpedoes from the gearing on the other team there. I'm not going for him because I don't have a really great angle on them, and I'm fairly certain that the Kurfürst could hopefully finish him off with the secondaries. I'm not sure if he will or not. And there he does. Okay, yep, he managed to kill him. Unfortunately, the Moskva finishes him off, but I don't know. That was definitely better than it could have gone, I guess, if that makes sense. We are going to try and put these islands in between us and all of these nasty battleships here. It still doesn't seem like that Montana wants to shoot at us, and I'm perfectly fine with that, although he is aimed at us. Those are Bismarck shells right there. You can tell because it's only 4. It would be either 3 or 6 right there. And there's the Bismarck that spotted us. Tirpitz over there as well. The rear turrets, will fire them off right before they would get clipped by the island there. And now we need to switch targets. Enemy Iowa. Ooh, a nice fire on the Bismarck. Switching to AP since the Iowa is fairly broadside and he's also fairly close. We might be able to get some nice pens on him. He's not necessarily known for having very good side armor. That was HE. We've got the AP loaded. It's going in, and we take a pretty big hit right there, so we're going to start repairing. You haven't really seen me doing too much with the AP, and that's because we have been fighting a lot of angled ships, although I do try and use the armor piercing anytime that it benefits us, and we're going to start to see a little bit of the damage that you're capable of doing with the armor piercing against this broadside Moskva here. Those are looking good. And there we go. That's a nice 7,000 volley right there. We'll fire again because he disappears, but it should... We have a pretty fair idea of where he's at, and we see some of the shells hit. We get the ribbons for it. Fire again in that direction. He's missed us with all but one of his shells, I think. Someone else hits us pretty hard, though. And now that he is starting to angle, we'll fire off those rounds and then switch back to HE. Surprised I haven't shot down a plane yet. The Hindenburg has really great AA, but I guess the enemy Lexington already knows that, so he's pretty much stayed away from me. And I guess another good reason why I haven't been targeted by him is he's got a lot bigger threats closer to him than I am, so there's probably a pretty decent reason that I am not being targeted right now. Enemy Friedrich der Grosse is moving into our middle cap point. The scores are fairly even right now. And they're going to stay that way for a little bit. The Friedrich is moving into B, which is going to pause the cap point advantage because it's stalling any points that we would get from B right now. So for the moment, we're basically gaining at the same rate that they are. So now we have to basically kill any ships in there to get points. Or to get an edge in points, rather. Shouldn't be too hard though. This Moskva is about to go down and we're going to try and snag the kill. Will that kill him? And it does. Try and get a fire burning on the Iowa there. We do have the Montana right here. We're going to go ahead and maybe try and set him on fire as well. He's still angled a little too much for the HE on the ship. Like if I were in a Des Moines, or the AP rather, if I were in a Des Moines, there'd be a pretty decent chance I'd get some okay penetrations. Maybe no citadels, but I would probably do some damage with the AP there in a Des Moines. However, you still don't have the ability in this thing. It just bounces off because of how light the shells are. Wow, excuse me there. He did put out the fire that we set on him. The Montana did. Wow, I'm getting all sorts of confused today, aren't I? However, we aren't able to set him back on fire yet because we're behind this island. We do get a fire on the Iowa there, that's what you just saw, and we got another one going on this Bismarck here. Pretty soon though we'll be able to try and set this Montana on fire again, and right now he is giving pretty good broadside, so we're going to switch back to armor piercing. And we're really in no hurry to angle against this guy because he's got his turrets on the other side of the ship. I'm really not worried about him right now. I do have to worry about the Iowa, of course, but for the moment, he's behind some islands. And you see right there, that was the damage finally coming into play there. We got 7,000 on that guy. We'll get another 7,000 volley, and he is starting to angle a little bit, so this might start to drop off here. I think it will. It's already looking fairly steep for a Hindenburg anyway, and there's 2,000 right there. Could have been just attributed to missing, but let's see how this one does. Well, there was a 6,000. We're going to go back to the HE though. We want to try and get him to start on fire again. He has a lot of hit points, and now that he really is angling now, or there, we're definitely not going to be able to pin him. So we need to try and set him on fire, get him burning, that way we can do some damage in that method. Speaking of burning, we do start the fire. He is aiming at us now. We're going to start repairing the ship. And I was holding off repairing it because I do have adrenaline rush on this captain. And so I was basically using the lower amount of health to my advantage. But since he is aimed at me now, or was, I don't know if he is right now actually. It looks like he's not. But since he was looking at me, I decided, well, you know what? Time to pop the heal and use that. And this guy's already put that fire out again. So if we burn it, if we catch him on fire once more, I really don't know why he's repairing them or putting them out so often. He should be waiting until we get 2 or even 3 sometimes on him. I think he's slowed down. He is targeting me again. You can tell because of the priority target thing up in the top corner there, or in the, well, kind of corner. Not quite. But right by our detected thing, it's got the little 1. That means he's shooting at us. We're moving back towards him because he's fairly weak. He's going to hopefully burn to death. We started a fire on the front of the ship. Now we're going for one somewhere else, and we get another one on the back. And he's going to burn to death any second, but you notice that I'm out of range of pretty much everybody else on the map right now, so we don't want to get too out of position. We need to move forward. But that guy really didn't play his ship to his strengths, using his hit points to just absorb fire damage. Instead, he just kept putting them out and putting himself in even more peril, because now I could just start fires that would burn permanently now. Oh well, maybe he'll learn. Going in there telling him in the chat, I feel like I need a bath because of all those fires on you. I do know how it feels to be burned, and it's not very fun, so I am apologizing to him. Enemy Iowa momentarily spotted as I'm typing Montana. Again, I'm really slow at typing, so it took me that long just to get Montana out. And we should be, there we go, we've got the Iowa spotted again. I don't think he's running stealth. If he was, we probably wouldn't have spotted him until around like 12.7 kilometers or something like that. Not quite sure on the stealth of the Iowa, but it's very, very good. We do have a Zhao, the one that was reversing earlier. He's moving into B as well. And we're going to try and get this Iowa burning for the same reasons that we're trying to burn the Montana. Namely, he was fairly well angled, and he is right now, so armor piercing's not going to do much. Let's get him burning. The other reason is, since we do have a Zhao right there, and he did put out the original fire, which means that once the effect duration of his damage control goes away, it's going to stick. We have a Zhao and me right here, and both of us have torpedoes, so this guy, I think, realizes what's about to happen, and he's starting to turn a little bit to try and get away from the Zhao right there. One of the things I love about the Hindenburg, it's very good at soloing, and you can see right now that the ship really isn't taking much damage from the Iowa there, especially when you consider how much we're giving him with the high explosive and the fires we're getting. We are switching to armor piercing though. He's giving us a pretty good angle. I apologize for the stuttering again. It really annoys me too. And look how fast those Zhao torpedoes go. They're so quick. We're not even able to get another target or get another good salvo on him before he gets killed by the torpedoes fired from the Zhao. Someone in here, I think they were spectating us, saying, "Oh god, that torpedo trap, that was great." Thank you, friend, thank you. Only 2 ships left. It has gone from a game that was fairly even to now it's pretty much in our favor. It's a carrier and 2 tier 10 cruisers versus a tier 8 carrier and a tier 8 battleship. So we're definitely in the advantage here. We have the advantage, rather. We're basically trying to get a little bit more damage thrown in here before the game ends, because we are nearing that 1,000 point marker there, and he's throwing me off because he's slowed down so much, but I think he is going forward again. Not that it matters in this case, but you did just hear our torpedoes reload, so they don't have a terribly long reload either. I know one of the things about like the Mikhail Kutuzov, one of my favorite, another one of my favorite ships, those things reload and it's so slow. This ship, you actually have them back up in a fairly quick amount of time. Trying to start another fire on this Bismarck. I should probably switch to AP, and there we go, we have switched to AP. Although, it looked like he was starting to angle a little more, so we're going to go back to HE. I don't really expect to get another fire, but the damage will probably be a little bit better with the high explosive. And this game is all but done. We're just trying to get a little bit more damage in there. We do manage to get the high caliber. Fire another salvo, and we're going to get another one off, I think, here. Oh, come on, hit. And there we go. So, not a bad result for what I consider to be a pretty bad map and what could have gone much worse, well, when we look at what the matchmaker gave us. 200,000 damage almost exactly. 2 sunken ships, 17 fires set. We defended the middle capture 16 times, little ribbons there, so that was kind of fun. We'll go ahead for the XP later because I have flags and whatnot mounted. Top of the team, we got the Arsonist and the High Caliber with 2,311 base experience. And we caused just about 100,000 damage with the High Explosive, about 50,000 with the Armor Piercing. And fires, we almost had a Witherer right there with 53,000 damage done by fires. And we tanked 46,000. This is a fairly tanky cruiser, although I wasn't really showing that off so much because I realistically wasn't getting hit that often. Not often enough to really show how tanky it can be, but it does have a turtle back in there, and it's very, very good at close range. One of the reasons I love it. Finally, credits and experience. We did end up earning 440,000. Again, that's with our Type 20 camo. We do have the little flag on there and a military month contributor, so a little bit more silver than you would probably expect from a tier 10, but again, you know, not a bad chunk. I think without the modifier, you see the modifiers did about 200,000, so without that you would have about 240,000, give or take. Then with flags and whatnot, we got 12,300 ship experience and 600 free experience. And now we'll go on to the build. So here we are in port, ready to go over the build we've got. We'll start off with consumables. I run premium everything, but at the very least you should definitely run the premium damage control, the premium heal, and the premium hydro. Although you can also mount defensive AA fire here, not a bad choice either, although you're pretty much always going to see a destroyer in the game, you may not always see a carrier. So for me, I prioritize destroyers over carriers, so I want the hydro. And it'll help spot torpedoes as well as destroyers. Moving on to the upgrades, in the first slot, main armaments modification 1, pretty self-explanatory. Second slot, I run AA guns mod 2, it gives you a little bit more range. You could also probably justify having aiming systems modification 1 as well if you want the main battery to have a little bit more accuracy. The turrets turn pretty much completely fine, so you really don't need main battery mod 2. Slot number 3, you can either go for a rate of fire build by getting the, the main battery mod 3, although you're going to lose out on a lot of range. It'll drop it down to, I think, 17.6 kilometers, so to me, I'm just not quite comfortable being that close to the enemy, so I use gunfire control system modification 2 to give you the extra range you need to be able to shoot them from, I believe, 20.7 kilometers? Yes, 20.7 kilometers, so. Slot number 4, there's really no other choice here. These are all pretty bad modifications on anything besides destroyers, so get damage control system mod 1. On the 5th slot, go ahead and get your steering gears mod 2. Your rudder shift is pretty sluggish, so being able to help boost it a little bit is nice. Finally, you'll want concealment system modification 1 in your final slot. Moving on to the captain. Your first skill is going to be priority target here. That'll help you know how many people are shooting at you or targeting you. That way you need or know if you need to start taking evasive maneuvers or not. In a second row, expert marksman. Later on, you'll probably want to get adrenaline rush right here. In the third row, go ahead and get superintendent first, and then you'll want to get concealment finally. I've been testing out the basics of survivability on here. I'm not sure I would necessarily keep that. Demolitions expert, however, I do recommend because it helps start fires a little bit more. If you don't get basics of survivability here, I would probably go ahead and get AFT following your acquisition of, well, yeah, you should have enough skills to do that. If you get the 19th point, you should have enough skills if you don't get basics of survivability to have AFT, so yeah. But I've been testing this since I don't have that skill point, and also because I do like brawling with it, so this is really nice to help put things out. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I am still experiencing some weird issues with my recording, so I'm still using the phone and the microphone plugged into it, so I apologize if it sounds a little bit worse. I don't know what it's doing. I've tried a lot, and believe me, I can't figure out anything as to why it's doing this. But I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, go ahead and leave a like and a comment detailing what it was you enjoyed. If you haven't enjoyed the video, please go ahead and give a thumbs down, but leave a comment as well telling me what it was that just didn't float your boat. This is a steaming pile of ships signing off. Thank you guys for watching.